Tom Ricardi is the founder, owner, and operator of the Birds of Prey Rehabilitation Center in Conway, Massachusetts. He cares for dozens of falcons, owls, eagles, and other raptors that have been injured in some way, usually as a direct consequence of encountering humans. Since retiring in 2001 after a 38-year career with the Massachusetts Environmental Police, Tom has been the Western Massachusetts go-to resource for injured birds of prey. We are pleased to have Tom and his birds here today, and we are eager to see and learn about those injured friends he so lovingly cares for. Please join me in welcoming Tom.
Just what I need. I've got a bad knee. I'll be going down. Can you hear me okay without a microphone?
Oh, yeah.
Good. Nice to be back here. I forgot how beautiful this place is. It's really, really nice. What I'd like to do is, I'll show you, I brought several birds with me. I didn't bring an eagle today because of the heat. The last 2 weeks has been real tough taking birds around because of the real high humidity. So the eagle couldn't come today. But I brought several other birds. You know, it's important to realize the problems in the environment today. Unbelievable, the things I run across just about every day. Last week, I rescued a bald eagle, starving. And we found out why he was starving. His toes were gone. Think about it. He got his feet caught somewhere and lost his toes. Had no way of gripping, catching prey. That bird is not going to be a bird that can be released back to the wild. Just like the birds I brought with me today are all non-releasable. They cannot be released back to the wild. But every day I encounter something new. Barred owls, for instance. Getting a lot of barred owls that are blind, totally blind. And the veterinarian says the retinas are gone. So what's happening in the environment today causing that? You know, I hope you people realize, just like when I was a kid, they told us DDT, greatest invention in the world. We're going to have crops as high as pine trees, plenty of food, and to take wildlife into consideration, and we almost lost the national bird, the bald eagle, and the peregrine falcon. Today, what's that? Okay. Today we have the same problem, but we don't realize it. All these things we're playing around with, you know, all these gadgets, wildlife has never been considered before we start doing all this stuff. What do you guys think a solar panel field looks like to a goose or a duck?
Water.
What? Water. Exactly. It pumps off it like a ping pong ball. Cell phone towers, windmills, all causing problems. What? They're going to try to put a cell phone tower in Conway, where I'm from. They came around and tried to make me sign a paper for radiation. And I said, if these things are so safe, why do I have to do that? But anyway, all those things we're doing to the environment are having a real effect on wildlife. I'd like for people just get up the path a little bit. Last month, Conway made the papers. We had the most rain in a 1 hour period of time than anywhere in the country. 21 inches. It literally washed the roads out. We still got roads that are unpassable. It actually lifted the surface of the road and then dropped it back down. So they're still being repaired right now. So we had a lot of problems. I brought several beautiful birds to show you. What I'm going to try to do is walk around real quick, because I've only got 40 minutes to show you the birds. Raptors are protected by law. We owe it all to these two wonderful women back in the 1800s. Their name was Mrs. Hall and Mrs. Hemingway. They lived in Boston. Excuse me. and they were part of the Audubon Society. And the reason they got involved is because women wore feathered hats like this. And these two women, well, thank you, man. These two women were so outraged why we're slaughtering all these beautiful birds so someone could plop it on the top of their head. Well, in the 1890s, women had no voting rights. So politicians didn't listen to them. They went to Boston, they went to Washington, and finally, in the early 1900s, they listened to them. And they got a law passed today, it's still in effect. And the law states you cannot possess the feathers of protected birds unless you have a special federal license or you are a full-blooded Native American. And I got this book. It's pretty good. It says she's wearing a dead bird on her head with Mrs. Hemingway and Mrs. Hall right in the front. Boys and girls, what is a bird of prey? Tell me what a bird of prey is. Anyone? Go ahead, bud. I was at a school one day, and a young girl in the front, she was kind of bashful. But after the program, she came up to me and she handed me this. And this is what she said to me. Eyes on the side, meant to hide. Eyes in the front, meant to hunt. So when you look at the birds of prey, they're right straight forward, just like us. We're predators, straight forward. Hawks, owls, eagles, crows, blue jays, robins on the side who watch for danger. Okay. I'm going to walk it up. Hey, guys. What kind of owl? Which one? The great horned owl. Unfortunately, this bird, I got a call from the state police who was on the side of a highway. So when I went down to rescue him, he had frostbite on his wings. And the frostbite was so bad that the veterinarian had to take both tips of both wings off. So the bird could not be released back to the wild. Now he has these tufts of feathers on the top of his head for a reason. Anyone know? They're called ear tufts. They're really not his ears. Picture this owl against one of these trees. Camouflage. Ear tufts up. That beautiful brown color. Watch. Here's a tree trunk. Watch this. Nope. Now, you walk right by and think, just part of the tree. Just an old, broken branch. You know, they talk about how life goes by fast. I've had this owl 28 years. 28 years. Look at his face. Flat, like a television satellite dish. Pick up sound. Sometimes I do this when I can't hear someone. They have a dog at home, they put their ears up. The owl can do the same thing with his facial disc. Okay. Look at his head. Watch how far he can turn that head around. Can't move his eyes. His eyes are so big, he can turn his head completely around and look over. You gonna do it today? Over his shoulder. Owls, hawks, eagles have to have a special diet. If I took this owl, I fed it hamburger, chicken meat, boy, you'd see a difference in about 2 or 3 weeks. You'd literally get sick and maybe even die. And the reason is they form a pellet in their system. The pellet contains feathers, fur, and bones of the animal it ate the night before. Here's the important fact. When he swallows that mouse, he digests most of it. The next morning he opens his mouth and regurgitates or spits out the feathers, fur, and bones of the animal he ate the night before. Keeps his digestive tract clean. So this is a great horned owl. Largest New England owl also the earliest nesting bird in New England. The female has eggs in early January, so they nest very easy. He's a tough bird, let me tell you. They call this bird the tiger of the air, not for any specific reason other than the fact he's quite the hunter. I always say the great horned owl will eat anything from a house cat to a cricket. That's how varied the diet is. What's his favorite food? Anyone know? Skunks. Skunk. I picked a lot of these birds up. Wow. I couldn't get back in the house. My wife wouldn't let me in after I handled them. That's called the great. But he's looking at something up there. Is there anything up there? Yeah. Excellent eyesight. You can chirp it a little bit. One of the prettiest owls. Which one is this? Who said that? What you remind me of? My dad used to always say to me when I was a little boy, why do you always come home covered in mud? Always up in the woods looking for birds, bugs. Why aren't you all playing baseball and football? Here I am. This is the barred owl, the old hoot owl. He has a pretty interesting sound. It sounds like someone saying, who cooks for you? Who cooks for you all? And this little guy is probably the most common owl in New England and really susceptible to getting a lot of different diseases and things like that because he's such a delicate bird. We had that bird flu a while back. The barred owls were the ones that were getting most of the flu. This is called the Eastern Barred Owl. Okay. If you have any questions, you guys, if you have any questions, I'll try to answer them for you.
Is that full grown?
Yeah. What's that?
The full grown size?
Full grown? Yeah. This is a male. When you look at a hawk, eagle, or owl, the female is always larger. So the female will probably be another 2 or 3 inches larger than this bird. Well, the female reason basically is the female does all the incubating of the eggs, about 90%. She cares for the young when they're real tiny. So he's off hunting to feed the female. He's smaller, he's quicker. When the young are hatching, small items, insects, mice. Now when the chicks get a little bigger, the female goes off hunting. She can bring in larger prey. They get growing then. Okay? Eastern barred owl. You notice? No tufts. Do my birds have names? Yes. Great horned owl, barred owl, snowy owl, turkey vulture, bald eagle. I've never named a bird. I found out years ago when I walked into a classroom and I said to the children, this is a barred owl. It was an environmental class. Turn around and do the same thing. This is spooky. My barred owl, the whole class, it's a Walt Disney program. I never named them. I always consider them a wild animal, and they let me know if they're still wild. This bird's blind in one eye, so I can't be released back to the wild. Let me ask you a question. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Do your owls relate to each other at all, or are they?
Oh my gosh, yeah. The birds that are going to be released back to the wild, the big aviaries, they're totally isolated. No human handling or any, when they're dead, medical attention, that is it. But the birds I work with, I'm constantly handling them. They get to know your voice and your mannerisms. Let me ask you a question. Why do you think the red-tailed hawks sit along the highways? And the owl's doing the same thing at night.
Roadkill.
What's that?
Roadkill.
Roadkill, most people think. No. We litter. We litter. Chain of events over the course of years. You're driving on the highway, eating an apple or a piece of bread or whatever. This is not litter. I don't want to dirty my vehicle up. Down comes the window, out goes the piece of apple. Middle of the night, the mice, the squirrels, the chipmunks all come out and feed on that piece of apple. So over years of evolution, they know there's a food source. What do you think the red-tailed hawks and the owls think? Same thing. And they sit there and they watch. You know, about 80% of the hawks I pick up on the highway are right close to a food supply where he was watching a mouse or something. They get hit. Okay. Fire it out. Where do you see this guy? I'm trying to walk now. What kind of owl? Which one?
Tiny.
Nope.
Pygmy?
It's called a saw-whet owl. What a smile. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3.
Mm.
Wait.
This is not a baby, it's full grown. Full grown. I'll tell you, those smiles are worth $1 million. You don't have a mouse in your pocket. Okay, but I guess. Called a saw-whet owl. Well, you already got your glove on. Look like a real hawk man. Saw-whet owl, the only owl that migrates south. So these birds will stop migration pretty quick, and sometimes it's common to see flocks of them, of these little owls. But don't let the size fool you. This little owl will eat large mice, insects, things like that. Okay. Good God. Oh no. Fastest flying bird. Peregrine falcon. You're right. Look at the shape compared to the owl. It's built for speed. In a couple of seconds, he'll start doing his morning exercise because he's just like an athlete. Long pointed wings for speed. I mentioned before about pesticide. When the farmer sprayed his crops, killed the insects, songbirds came along, ate the insects. This guy ate the songbirds, and he was put on the endangered species list. Once we stop spraying pesticide, the falcon is coming back. How fast, guys? Girls?
196 miles.
At least. A couple 100 miles an hour. Ever watch a baseball game, football game? Players put the grease under their eyes? Look at the falcon. Unfortunately, these birds used to like to nest on areas like you see right in the back of us, rocky outcroppings. But today, many of them nest in the cities, Springfield, Boston, Worcester, Hartford, Connecticut. And what happens when the young leave the nest in the spring, they get down to ground level, a lot of problems. Automobiles, people, and glass windows. That's what happened to this guy. Hit a glass window. Hit a glass window and injured one leg. Notice how alert. I mean, he's a bird hunter. That's all he hunts. Birds. Okay. Most common hawk in New England. Yes.
Wow. Oh.
Which one? The red-tailed hawk. Red-tailed. And you'll notice his tail, beautiful red color, and they're molting their feathers right now. So you see a lot of the feathers are missing. They're dropping out. So in about another month, he'll have a perfect red tail. Wings, big broad wings for soaring. He's a soaring hawk. He'll sit in a tree and he'll watch for a squirrel or a rabbit or some animal to move, and down they'll come to catch their prey. The old farmers used to call this bird a chicken hawk. Now, today, people are very health conscious. We don't keep chickens in coops anymore. We have free-range chickens. And on behalf of the red-tailed hawks, thank you. They love it. Red-tailed hawk. What are the tail? I just let it out. I was going to say, what are the claws called? Talons. Yeah.
What happens to the red-tailed hawk?
I'm sorry?
What happens to the red-tailed hawk?
This one, he's blind in one eye. Yeah. The eyes are so big that they take a lot of the trauma when they hit here. Yes.
What's the difference between hawks and falcons?
Well, just the structure. Big broad wings. Hawk, falcon.
Ah. So one is good.
Stiff feathers, semi-soft. And the owl. Silent flight. No sound. Native Americans, because of their heritage, they're entitled to keep hawk, eagle, owl feathers. There's 2 fans made with eagle feathers from Native Americans. I put this together years ago, and I put on the top, extinction. And some of the things we do to wildlife today. And boy, I wish you guys could take a look at this later on. Pretty interesting. Rhinoceros horn. Tiger bone. That blue can says Russian caviar fish eggs. It's American paddlefish from the Hudson and the Mississippi River. They poach the fish, they strip it of its eggs, they can it in Russian caviar containers, and put it on the market for about $400 an ounce. Turtle soap made from the fat of turtles. A comb made from the shell of a turtle. Right down the bottom, bandages made with ground up tiger bone. An elephant tusk made into a bracelet. And last but not least, that big yellow foot. I got that from a security officer at an airport. It was confiscated. It's the foot of the South American harpy eagle, one of the largest and one of the rarest birds of prey. And someone was taking that as a trophy. Just some of the things we do to wild. Okay, I'm going to get my favorite bird out. But before I get her out, if you remember anything from this program, I hope you remember this. You know, to see any young wildlife, any type of wildlife, leave it alone. You know, we get so many calls in the springtime from well-intentioned people that find a baby bird, a baby animal. Human instinct, pick it up, get it in the house, get on the phone. Wrong, wrong, wrong. Leave it alone. Good example. A woman called me, there's a fawn in my yard. I need someone down here right away. I said, first of all, I only deal in raptors. Second of all, the female's probably within 10 feet of you. Oh no, there's nothing here. Nothing. And she was all ready to take that fawn. She called me back. She said, I went out to check the fawn again. The mother was about 5 feet back, but laying in the bushes. So if you see a young bird, a young animal, this advice, leave it alone. If you think something's wrong with it, call Fish and Wildlife right over here in Dalton, or Audubon Society. They'll send someone down to check that bird or animal out. Drill important. Okay. My favorite bird. Back there. I'm walking sideways.
You see the bird?
There he is.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Well, I love this bird. You're unbelievable. This is a turkey vulture. Ready? It's on your microphone. Check it out. Check it out.
That's for you.
Turkey vulture. The reason I love this bird because they're perfectly adapted to the environment. Does anyone know why he has a featherless head? Birdman. He's a scavenger. Pretty messy eater. Sticks his head into his food. Pretty messy. Keeps his head nice and clean. You also notice I can look right through his nose. It's open right up. Because the turkey vulture is one of the very few birds that has an excellent sense of smell. How does the turkey vulture keep his body cool?
Spreads his sweet.
Peas on his legs. And I said this guy's perfectly adapted to the environment. You know, they may look very, kind of funny up close. When you see a turkey vulture in the sky, always remember, V for vulture. When he flies, they hold their wings in a V. Just like that. Turkey vulture. You know, we talk about climate change. You'll see up here in the Berkshires, black vultures. Black vultures are from the south. They're heading north, and we've got them nesting up here in Massachusetts. Okay, I'm going to put him back. How much do you think he weighs? About 4 pounds. If you ever encounter a turkey vulture that's injured, you try to pick him up, bad mistake. One of the defense mechanisms is this. When they find a dead animal, they gorge themselves. So if a predator comes along, tries to injure that bird, it throws up, they regurgitate their stomach contents. So it's tough to handle. Curious, very curious.
Question.
Perfect timing. Any other questions at all? Yes.
Why are they stored in the dark?
Once more?
Why are they stored in the dark, windowless?
Good question. It gives them a little security. If I had these birds in an open wire box, the people would be just too much. Any other questions at all? Yes.
You said your great horned owl is 28?
28 years.
28. So that's an old bird.
Sure is.
All right.
Yeah.
And probably in the wild would not.
No, not even half of that. Yes.
I saw a black vulture, I thought for the first time the other day. When do they come up here?
Into the spring, they'll stop drifting up.
But for how long have they been up here?
They'll stay until it gets real cold.
When did they start coming
Yeah.
up here?
They're much different than the turkey vulture. When they fly, they just look like a large crow.
Here.
Over here. Turkey vulture had a bad wing.
How many birds do you have?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
How many birds do you have?
Around 65 there right now. A lot of bald eagles this year. I had several eagles that were wrapped in fishing line that were able to be released real quick. But a lot of bald eagles this year. About 200 a year. Yeah.
Are you finding a lot from rodenticides being killed?
I couldn't hear you, man. I'm sorry.
Rodenticide? Are you finding a lot from rodenticide being killed?
Yeah. You know, another thing that you should be aware of, this roticide that they sell in Walmart to kill mice, boy that's doing a job on wildlife. People don't realize that that roticide is designed to get that mouse out. Wouldn't be any good if you put poison out for a mouse and you walk in your walls and die, and you've got a dead animal. So they eat that poison, and the first reaction is need something to drink. They get out of your house. The hawks, the owls, the vultures, other animals eat those animals, and they get the poison. And you can buy it, like I said, right off the shelf. Dad, set a live trap or a mouse trap. Don't use that roticide. Hey,
Are those falcons the same falcons that, that they race in the Middle East? And
yes. Yep, same bird. There's several variations, same bird.
Is this a habitat where the falcons nest?
Absolutely. Right down here on Monument Mountain. We've got them.
Do they understand commands?
The youngest, I didn't get that one.
Do they understand commands?
Not really. They know my voice and things. Yeah, especially the eagle I handle. He's very possessive of me. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Enjoy your day. You've done a beauty.